Our first inductee is Larry Witte. Larry's memories of Sac City High School are among the best in his life. Regarding classes, he especially enjoyed the agricultural classes and the FFA program taught by Harold Crawford, who went on to become a major professor at ISU. Then simply being a part of the basketball team his senior year in high school, when the team took 4th place in the state, was truly magical. Following the graduation, Larry attended ISU for a year and a half and then served 4 years in the Marine Corps. When he returned home, Larry struggled with a purpose, but his father helped straighten him out in the thinking and was soon back in ISU. He studied English and biology. Graduation in 1970, Dr. David Griffith suggested Larry go to graduate school, where he obtained his PhD in psychology in 1974. Larry entered a postdoctoral program at Columbia University, where he learned 2 new powerful technologies, monoclonal antibodies and molecular biology. In 1977, he and his family moved to Rochester, Minnesota, where Larry held a fellowship at Mayo Clinic. Larry and his wife, Linda, had 4 children, now all grown, successful, and married, and his parents of Larry's 8 grandchildren. In 1979, Larry accepted a faculty position at Columbia. For the next 11 years, Larry taught medical and dental students. He also found time to coach some baseball and soccer at his children's teams. Larry continued to teach at Columbia as an ad hoc professor. Until 2005, he also worked as Chief Scientific Officer / Senior Vice President of Research at a biotech company called Clone Systems, which made antibodies to treat cancer and produced Aerotux, a very successful cancer treatment today. November 2010, Larry and his friend and partner, Dr. Sam Waxel, founded a new company, Cadmon Pharmaceuticals, in NYC. Larry is founding member / Chief Scientific Officer / Executive Vice President, Research and Development. Honors received include Phi Kappa Phi, Young Research Training Grant, Established Investigatorship, American Heart Association, National Institute of Health Grant Review Committee. Larry also is a member of American Association for Cancer Research and American Society of Hematology, American Society of Cancer Oncology, and Union of Concerned Scientists. Larry and his wife, Donna Marie, have 3 boys, Brennan, 9, Aiden, 4, and Harry, 2, and reside in Warwick, New York.
Wow, as my mother pointed out after reading that thing, that he didn't even know I'd done all of that. In some ways, I didn't either. But I want to, first of all, thank this group for actually sponsoring this type of a group. I think it's a great idea to have something to bring scholarship forward for children. And whether I'm deserving of this award or not, I'm not sure. But I do thank you very much. I deeply appreciate it. And it is one of those things that I've come to really cherish with the time. Working in New York City, sometimes people would come to me after a meeting and they would say, "Where are you from?" And I'd often answer them, "Well, I'm from Iowa." And they would say, "Oh, well, that I understand because I don't understand your accent. And you're a lot nicer than most people in New York City." But then I usually go on to tell them that I'm actually one of those really blessed people who had one of those families that you read about when you read Mark Twain, or one of those all-American families where I had a mother and father who, in my mind, and truly in my mind, were the best mother and father around. And luckily someplace, but because of the lights I'm not sure where she's at, but my mother is out there someplace. So my childhood was one of those where everything was sort of idyllic. And my mother would always say to me, and still does even to this day, "You're a real good boy." Of course, I don't think that I was always really that good of a boy. There was a time when I'd just gotten a brand new Boy Scout knife, and somehow, I'm not sure why, but it slipped out of my hand and it stuck in my brother's leg. Darwin. He was a little younger than I. Some of you may remember him. And then that night, because my mother would always say, wait till your father gets home. That night, I remember getting this paddling of my life. The Boy Scout knife disappeared. And for those of you who knew my father, he actually had these big, huge hands. And as we've had family conversations over the years since then, I hardly ever remember my father spanking us at all, actually. And he was quite well known in the community, and some of you do remember him, as being a super nice man. But when you got spanked by those big hands, you knew you had gotten spanked, and you felt it for days after that. So then there was the times when I tormented my brother David playing basketball or trying to teach him basketball when I was taller than he was. Now it's a little bit different. He's so much taller than I am, and my other brother is taller than I am. I'm the shortest one in the family. And then my sister Jolene, who I love dearly, and who my mother always wanted a little girl so that she could dress her up in pretty dresses. But as you know, Jolene, she then turned out to be a big tomboy. So she never cared for pretty little dresses. But I would torment her about many things, like her boyfriends. I would torment her no end about her boyfriend. But Jim, I know you're out there somewhere, and I like you. I like you. But my extended family was always there for me. There was my grandmother Witte, my grandmother Pearl, my aunts and uncles, Uncle Don, Aunt Marge, cousins. I must have had more than 100 cousins. They were always there for me, and that is the way my life has been. There's always been someone there for me, including teachers in this school. It was only last year when we had our 50th class reunion for the class of 1962. And many of the friends, many of which I had not seen for years, were there. Bill Arndt was a good friend of mine. We played on the Little League baseball team. Father Toland coached that team. There may still be people here who remember him and being Mr. Little League in Iowa. There was that, as you pointed out, that amazing basketball team that we won 4th in the state, and that was back in the days when there weren't different classes. Everybody played against anybody else, no matter what size the town was. Craig Mandernock, Russ Haas, we were all members of that particular class. Judy Mao, who I got to know better as we went into the class reunion. These were all members of that 1962 class, and when we had that reunion, it was amazing because I was a part of putting together the book for that. It was amazing how many people pointed out different teachers that had made a major influence on their life. And as you pointed out, Dr. Harold Crawford was one of the real influences in my life, and had the pleasure of seeing him in Ames, Iowa last summer before this reunion. After high school, then, as you pointed out, I went on to college and used many of those lessons that were learned here. And my first postdoc was with a man named Dr. DeWitt Goodman. That was at Columbia University. And I still remember a story that he would tell sometimes about himself, and I think it was a little bit of just coming back with a little reality. His story was this, that he had a plumber come to his home and to fix the sink. And after he'd done fixing the sink, he got the bill, and the bill was very high. And Dr. Goodman said, "I'm a full professor at Columbia University, and I don't make that kind of money." And the plumber looked up at him and said, "When I was a full professor in Harvard, I didn't make that kind of money either." Anyway, I ended up working in the biotech industry. I had many, many wonderful experiences. I enjoyed my work. I always felt like, man, if somebody wants to pay me to do this, that's great. If they weren't going to pay me anything, I would still do this. It was the greatest job in the world. And one of the best stories from that particular time frame was when we were developing this drug. By the way, that's no problem. The name of the company was M-Clone Systems, and the name of the antibody we developed, which was for cancer, was called Erbitux. And I still remember when we were testing it in the clinics, a doctor in Texas called me. It was actually after midnight, and he said, "Larry, most amazing thing is happening. The tumors in this woman are just like melting away." And this is when we were working on what they called targeted therapies for cancer. And we continued to talk about this late into the night, and 3 weeks later, the woman's tumors were gone, and they had never come back. Now, this doesn't happen for everyone. It's something we're finding out now, that it is actually a rare occurrence. But when you have a drug that hits the target that is actually causing that person's cancer, miraculous things can happen. And of all the different feelings, the feeling then, which was actually the very first patient that I knew was being helped by something that we had developed, it was just mind-blowing to me. It was so thrilling that actually worked. That I have kind of gone on with my life waiting to do that again. And I'm glad that I had the opportunity to go to school here. I love coming back here and visiting, and because I've always considered that this is the place that I learned the work ethic from the people in my family and from the community. And to make a great place, you need to have community involvement, and I think you're showing that the community is really involved here. My hat is off to you. It's not a common occurrence that people have communities like this. Thank you.